Serious, people who recovered from COVID-19. What was it like? Male. 30. No pre-existing conditions or other significant risk factors. Day 1. Slight sore throat and a little coughing in the morning. Couldn't really ever wake up from the morning. Day 2-4. Fatigue. Body aches. Headache that made it hard to process information. Pretty mild respiratory symptoms. Day 5-7. Slight fatigue. Day 7-10. No symptoms. I had a very mild case. I was sick back in March. I did not get the full list of symptoms. No cough. Low-grade fever. But each symptom seemed to appear on a different day. My wife was also sick. Although less severe symptoms. The odd part is that we went for tests and I tested positive and she was negative. Later, in a follow-up antibody test, I have antibodies and she did not. It took about 4 weeks for the symptoms to subside. Started off with a cough and then progressed to fatigue, chills, dizziness, and a mess of other symptoms I can't even remember. I never had a fever nor did I lose my sense of smell taste. The thing that was the hardest to deal with was the fatigue. I would debate drinking water because that meant I would have to walk to the bathroom. I have a bathroom connected to my bedroom. It took about 2 weeks to recover, although my cough hasn't gone away. Overall, it was awful. I'm terrified of getting sick again. I had it in early April. Probably from working at a quarantine facility where we didn't have enough PPE. Loss of smell was my only symptom for a few days. Then mild productive cough. Then fatigue. Body aches. And trouble breathing. Never had a fever. Indigestion. Etc. The scariest part was at that point. No one knew how to manage it. My doctor had zero advice other than rest and fluids. Didn't know what meds to avoid. Expected progression. Nothing. My family and friends checked in a lot. They freaked out if I acted too sick. So I pretended my symptoms were much more mild than they were. I only shared my real symptoms with my partner and my doctor. In that regard, it was very lonely. Difficulty breathing lasted about 5 days. Then started to get better. Fatigue was the last symptom to disappear. It lingered about 10 days after I tested negative. Eater, I'm 25. EMT. Was working reduced hours when I got exposed. No pre-existing conditions. Follow-up question because I'm nervous as hell. What was having COVID-19 like for people with asthma? I have it right now. I think around day 5 or so. Coughing feels like sandpaper in my throat. And I'm coughing up mucus. I have to poop about once an hour. Even if I can't, it's just the feeling of needing to. My fever is on off. And going upstairs to my apartment makes me dizzy and short of breath. I can taste. But in a weird way. I had wings and my mouth burned from the spices. But I didn't taste the spice. And my smell is degrading slowly. Got tested only because in March upon arriving home from school 10 of my 12 roommates tested positive. I was positive but didn't even know I had it. I had some weird red bump dots on my toes that later became a known symptom, but at the time I had no idea it was a result of COVID. Also lost my sense of taste. But again did not know that was a symptom until after I had already recovered. I am 22 and know a lot of people my age who have tested positive. Or after the fact positive on the antibody test, and my experience is pretty similar with all of theirs as well. I poop my pants twice over 3 weeks. Then I poop 5 times a day. At least. Dizzy. Nausea. Wake up to choking cough. Like trying to vomit. Lasted a few hours each day. That's it for me. California. Super early in the pandemic. Day 1. 103-degree fever. Day 2. Same fever but with body aches and no taste. Day 3. Same fever and symptoms but with cough. Day 4. Low fever and cough only. Day 5. Cough only. Cough lasted another week. Edit, not comfortable sharing age but I'm young. IDK my blood type. I think it's a plus. I was completely asymptomatic. Didn't even know I had it until I was tested. Self-quarantined for over 2 weeks, got tested again and was told I was all good. Now I donate my plasma because I now have the antibodies to help those who are hit harder with the symptoms. Average health. Shortness of breath made it unbearable. Want to go up 3 stairs? Oxygen tank. Very bad sinus and head pain. Those were the worst ones. I also had chills. Tingliness in my throat. Lack of taste and muscle pain, especially when I ate. My jaw would feel like it was falling off. I had symptoms for about 8 days. After which I just felt normal again. My response might get buried. But I had these warts attacking my hands and fingers for years. Lasers. Freezing. Squaric acid. All kinds of stuff. Nothing worked. Then I caught COVID in March. I was sick for 2 weeks. Stomach problems. Persistent cough. My running ability was impacted clearly for a while. But whatever happened in my body literally killed every wart I had. So I am in the minority in saying COVID definitely helped me. Fever. Terrible headaches. Sore eyes. Fatigue. Cough. Shortness of breath. Loss of taste and loss of smell. Also had this weird burning sensation in my nose, similar to when you get pool water up your nose. My boyfriend and I both got it and we were both fairly mild cases, but we also both had different symptoms and we lived together. For me it was mostly exhaustion. I would climb stairs and almost pass out because my heart was beating so fast. I also had a cough and chest pain. It was almost as if I couldn't get all of the air out of my lungs, so I couldn't breathe in as much either, and my breaths were very shallow. I never got the fever, but I had one night where it was like I was drunk without having had any substances. My boyfriend had it a lot worse. He was bedridden for days. He had a fever. He was throwing up at one point. The nausea was terrible. Really bad cough and chest pain. Etc. He said it was like having a week's long hangover without the fun night before. We both recovered after about 3 weeks. Although I think both of our lungs are still fairly damaged from it. I now have an inhaler for when I'm exerting myself because I can't seem to catch my breath or breathe like I used to. I used to go to school for opera, so I had insanely good lungs, never had asthma or anything like that. My boyfriend sang too. That's honestly probably what saved us. Both me and my girlfriend had it. She got it first and then I got it like a couple of days later. It started with the throat not feeling right. And eventually I got a relatively mild fever. The worst part was probably the feeling that you're breathing. But your body is only getting like 70% of the oxygen it needs. It's not that I can't breathe. It's just that it doesn't satisfy my body. If that makes sense. I got all better approximately a little more than a week later. Then when I went back to work and was picking up a box of bananas to move them, my body reacted to it like I had been running on the tracks for an hour. I was beat after like one box. I move another. And I'm so tired I wanna lie down. I told my boss I couldn't work because my body was exhausted when doing any physical work. 2 weeks after that day and I was all better. But something is different. I don't know if it's that my antihistamines are less effective or what it is. But sometimes it feels like I have something in my airways that needs to be cleaned or something. Like I want to cough it out cause it's blocking the pipes. But it's so far down. Coughing doesn't help. And also, I've had a brain fog every once in a while. More than usual. When it happens. It's like how you feel when the weed's worn off. But there's some of it in your body still. That kind of fog. 120 plus days later and I'm still experiencing extreme fatigue. Random gastro issues. Heart palpitations. Aches and pains. Random rashes. And no doctor wants to deal with it. I felt like I had the flu and only got tested because of the pandemic. My flu-like symptoms lasted 3 days before I recovered, but I've had no sense of smell for over a month. I had my daughter tested when my results came back positive and hers did as well. She, however, never developed so much as a low-grade fever. My girlfriend tested positive also, but her primary symptom was headaches as someone who has had the flu twice and the swine flu once. Either of those were much worse for me. Male. Mid-50s. Overweight. The 28th of April initial infection. The 1st of May knew something was wrong that evening. The 2nd of May woke up with 101. And the Hershey squirts. By middle of day fever to 102. 5. The bathroom became my live-in palace. Coughing but no serious congestion. Down to low grade 101F. Felt like I was the loser of a bad fight. Terrible body aches, shades of my kidney stone experience. The 6th of May about back to normal. The 11th of May confirmation of COVID pre-infection regime. Self-quarantine. Face mask. Vitamin D supplement. Vitamin C supplement. On evening of the 1st of May took dose of ivermectin. The only lasting effect is a possible lack of energy, intermittent shortness of breath. Was fine before. Big doctor visit test day at end of next week to see what is the cause of my problems. Or whether the whole thing is psychosomatic. Watch your parents' grandparents. I have lost 2 clients to COVID in the last 6 weeks. Both in their 70s. Be safe. The jarring thing reading through these comments is that any sort of sickness could be covered due to the wide range of symptoms that people experience. Fatigue and a fever. The poops. Sore throat, all of that. Honestly wish I didn't read these threads. Hahaha, can't wait for my nightly COVID anxiety attack. Had a fever for a day. Sore throat. Nausea. Headache for the next 2 days, then it went away. Pretty uneventful and was able to do everything as normal besides the day with the fever. Still have loss of smell but not sure when that started. 35 male. Woke up one morning in mid-March with chills and sweating. Assumed it was a fever. But didn't have a thermometer, so I ordered one online. Over the course of that first day started to develop a bit of a cough. During the week I was waiting for the thermometer to arrive. I had a persistent cough and assumed fever, which I attempted to control with ibuprofen and acetaminophen. Little to no appetite and no energy. Thermometer arrived. Took temp 100. 4F that same day I noticed I had lost my sense of smell and taste. My fever never went under 100 degrees for the next week. Even with medicine. And the cough went from a light clearing your throat kind of thing to a trying to exorcise a demon from the pit of your stomach kind of thing. Never had trouble breathing though. Thank God. In all, it was 14 days from first waking up with a fever to when I finally woke up with a normal temperature. The cough subsided around the same time. And I got my sense of smell back pretty rapidly thereafter. Never got tested. Because at the time the CDC recommendation was to deal with symptoms at home if you could. Rather than exposing medical professionals to the virus. And back then there weren't really testing sites. I'd have had to go into a hospital. In all, it was the sickest I've ever been in my life. But I know how fortunate I am that it wasn't any worse. I had surgery a week before and likely brought it home from the hospital. 8 days after surgery my neck started hurting really bad. Shoulders too. Muscle tension was also pulling on the back of my head, giving me a really bad headache. After 2 days of this I felt unwell. Dehydrated feeling. Headache. Heaviness in the body. Zero energy. Had a low grade fever for 2 days. 99. 3. Flushed with very red cheeks. Confusion. Couldn't come up with the right words or speak as clearly sometimes. Then after 2 days I woke up and was fine with no fever and no neck ache. Didn't think it was covered though. I had just stopped taking the narcotic pain meds from my surgery and I have a history of mild withdrawal if I take anything for more than a day or two. And I have a chronic issue with my neck that I usually get a massage for twice a month but hadn't been able to in months due to shutdowns. So basically I didn't realize something was up because I was already expecting to feel sick from withdrawal. Only discovered my error when my partner tested positive 9 days later and had the same symptoms. I, M20, only had a mild headache for about a week. Barely noticed it. That being said, I'm not trying to make it look like COVID is harmless. I most likely got it from working at the hospital where it was quite obvious how bad it could get.
Hi there. Look, if you enjoyed the video, well, why not go ahead and hit that like and subscribe to Reddit Stories. In fact, if you want to see even more responses to this thread, well then, take a look. There's the link in the description below. And remember, show some love to those authors while you're there. And I look forward to seeing you next time.